My name is Wesley Boudreau, one of the financial advisors here with the Retirement Group. Today we're going to go over the Shell retirement plans. We'll talk about the Provident Fund, which is the 401k plan. We'll also talk about the various pension options you have as a Shell employee. But before I get started, I just want to remind everybody again, we are not employed by, nor are we endorsed by Shell. And if you have any questions throughout the course of this webinar, there is a Q&A box on the screen. Feel free to put that question there. I'll be happy to address it at the end of the webinar. And keep in mind your name will be anonymous in that entry, so feel free to ask any questions you do have. We also have a chat box in there. We'll periodically put some information like links to how to follow us on LinkedIn if you want the most updated information we have on the Shell plans or the next webinar, or if you'd like to figure out how to set a meeting with myself or one of the other advisors. So feel free to keep an eye on that as we go through there as well. But before I get started, I just want to remind everybody again who the Retirement Group is for those of you who have not sat down with us recently. Again, the Retirement Group, we are an independent financial advisory firm that focuses on working with corporate employees and helping them transition into retirement. We've been doing this for about 30 years or so. We work with about 20 some odd different companies, and Shell obviously is one of the big companies we do a lot of work with. The reason we focus on just a certain amount of companies is it allows our advisors to have a deeper, better understanding of your benefits plans inside and out, so we can help hold your hand through that transition process to make sure you avoid a lot of different common mistakes we may see that other advisors are not aware of. Now again, we've got offices throughout the country, so rest assured if you'd like to sit down with somebody face-to-face, chances are we can arrange that. But we also provide web meetings, phone calls, emails, faxes, all that information as well. And at the end of the day, if there's anything you take us up on, I would recommend you at least take us up on our complimentary cash flow analysis. This is a retirement plan, in which case we can help you see where you stand, whether you're looking at retiring in 10 days or 10 years, or maybe even retired a year or two ago, just to see where you stand financially to make sure you're in good shape to meet your retirement needs. And if you're deciding when to retire from Shell, we can look at evaluating different dates and also different pension options and different ways to claim your benefits to make sure you maximize those options as well. So again, it's very important to at least take us up on that if you get anything out of this today. Now, what we're going to go through today is going to be the different plans through Shell. But whenever you do retire as a Shell employee, there's really three sources of income you're going to see in your retirement. First will be Social Security, which you have the option of claiming as early as age 62 or deferring up to age 70. Now, we can also provide a Social Security analysis that can show you all the different claiming strategies and help you determine the best claiming strategy, because no two people are alike and there's so many different options, especially if you're married. But we can run a full break-even analysis to show you the best choice on there, and we can also include that in that cash flow analysis we talked about. Now with Shell, you're gonna have the 401k plan, which is the Provident Fund, which is a defined contribution plan. You and Shell have been making contributions to along the way, and it's grown based upon the market performance. And you'll have the ability to take distributions once you retire from there, or roll it over to an IRA and take distributions that way. Now you've also got your pension plan, which we'll talk about the two choices you may have depending upon how long you've been with the company, and from there you may have a lump sum option, or you may have an annuity, or a combination of the two. And that's again going to be a defined benefit plan, in which case Shell has been making contributions to over the years for you. So let's talk about the 401k plan first. So the Provident Fund is a 401k plan in which case you're able to make contributions on a pre-tax, after-tax, and or Roth basis, and you're able to make contributions. You're able to make those contributions, and obviously you're immediately vested for those contributions, but you also have the company matching. And the company matching is going to be based upon your years of service as to how much you're going to get. And it starts out low, but then it gets a little bit better over time. It starts out at 2.5% for the first 6 years of employment. Then in years 6 to 8, it jumps up and doubles to 5%. And then finally it doubles again after you've been there for 9 years or more. You're getting 10% match on your contributions as you go forward with the 401k plan. So again, once you've been there for 9 years, you're maxing out that 10% match. As far as the fund choices in there, you've got some flexibility there. The default is going to be your Tier 1 choices, which are your life path funds, which are just your life cycle funds, which are broken up into 5-year increments. It's kind of your cruise control option, in which case you determine which year is closest to when you think you're going to retire. And then they're going to be more aggressive farther out. And as you get closer and closer to retirement, they'll start to become more and more conservative. So they'll do the management for you. But again, it's just a fund of funds, so it's not specifically tailored to yourself, but it is a great default choice if you don't want to bother with the 401k and make your own choices. If you do want to make your own choices, then you've got the Tier 2 and Tier 3 options. The Tier 2 is going to be your core funds, which are your index funds, which are passive index funds, which will just follow the market, and you'll do exactly what the market does based upon those indices. If you want to try and outperform that, there are some mutual funds in the Tier 3 option that you can pick and choose from, in which case they have active management, and the management's goal is to try and outperform the market. And of course, sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't, but it gives you further choices. Then if you want the most flexibility, you've got the Tier 4, which is going to be your brokerage link, which creates your 401k similar to like an IRA, where you have access to stocks, bonds, CDs, ETFs, mutual funds, pretty much everything that's out there. So for somebody who's more savvy or wants more flexibility, there's a choice there as well. Another addition you do have that Shell provides you is that 15% discount on the employee share purchase plan. So if you want to buy some stock, you can do so at a 15% discount. So that's another small benefit there as well. Now, getting into the pension plans, there's two different choices, and it really depends upon when you were hired as to which option you are under or which option you have a choice for. There's the 80-point formula, which is the original defined benefit plan that if you were there before in 2012 or earlier, you would have been under. Then in 2013, they changed it to the APF, which is the accumulated percentage formula, and this is more of a cash balance plan, which we'll elaborate on both of these in just a moment. Now, as far as the 80-point formula, again, I mentioned that was set up prior to 2012. So if you were an employee 2012 or earlier, this is what plan you are under. And again, it's your classic defined benefit plan, in which case the company makes contributions based upon your years of service, a multiplier, and your final average pay, minus the Social Security offset to determine how much they have to give you as an annuity for the rest of your life. So again, it's solely on the back of Shell to make those contributions. And again, this is strictly a pension plan where an annuity is the only form of payment that you'll get. So it's a monthly lifetime income annuity for yourself, or if you're married, if you want to do joint survivor options on there as well. Now, if we look at the APF, which again is that accumulated percentage formula, this came about in 2013, and it was a cash balance plan, in which case there's contributions made at a percentage rate anywhere from 3% all the way up to 16%, based upon your years of service and your age, to get what your point system is, to determine how much they will make as a contribution, and we'll go through that a little bit later. And those contributions are completely portable, in which case you have the option upon retirement to roll them over as a lump sum, or you can actually turn them into an annuity, just like the 80-point formula as well. So going through some of these, again, there's a couple different differences between the choices, and again, it's if you were hired on 2013 or later, you don't have a choice. You're under the APF plan. However, if you were hired before 2013, you were under the 80-point formula, and then once 2013 rolled around and you had that APF plan come about, you had the option to switch over to that. And you actually had the option year by year to make changes back and forth, and we've seen some people do that. But ultimately speaking, we'll talk about the benefits of the 80-point formula, and a lot of times the goal is to reach that 80 points, which is your years of service and your age. And then once you get that, you're maxing it out, then you can look at the APF plan, so that way you can get some benefits and have some flexibility there as well, which we'll go over. So digging into these, the 80-point formula, the 80-point plan, again, this is more of a backloaded plan, in which case the benefits grow very slowly at the beginning, but once you get closer and closer, and once you actually hit 80 points, which again is your years of service and your age, then it starts to grow a lot more rapidly as far as your benefits there. So that's why we call it kind of like a cliff. Once you get to 80 points, that's where you max out and you start to get better benefit payments on there. Whereas if you were to, let's say, only have 70 points and you elected to retire, you're not going to capture as much because there's a reduction in pay based upon that. But once you hit that 80 points, it's going to move up quite a bit more. Now, as far as the APF plan, again, this is more front-loaded, in which case you know your contributions, you know your benefits ahead of time. And so you're getting more bang for your buck out of the early years than what you would compared to the 80-point plan. And again, like I said, if you were hired after 2013, this is your only choice anyway. But for those of you who were hired before and under the 80-point formula, there are some differences between the two of these to determine which one is best for you. So looking at some of those differences, again, the APF plan is going to be, it's more mobile. So if you said, hey, I don't think I'm going to stay at Shell forever, or I don't think I'm going to reach the 80 points, and maybe you want to build up something so you can take it with you and roll it over to a new 401k plan, or look at rolling over to an IRA because you want the lump sum option, then the APF plan is going to be more beneficial for you. But it still gives you that option to annuitize it if you want to turn it into an annuity. If you've got maybe some longevity issues, maybe you're afraid of passing sooner rather than later, so that way you can take your money, get it to the beneficiaries, and you've got more protection there. And then as far as the 80-point plan, actually another one is if you already hit the 80 points and you've not maxed out, but you've hit that 80-point mark for the 80-point plan, and then you might want to go ahead and now roll over and start using the APF plan for future contribution years so you can have that portability. So you get both the pension and the lump sum option depending upon how many more years you work after you've hit the 80 points. The 80-point plan, again, is going to be more beneficial if you know or think you've got a strong likelihood of working your entire career at Shell and making it to the 80 points. Because again, once you hit 80 points, that's when it really starts clicking and you start to increase your pension formula benefits year over year from there. But if you thought that you'd be gone, at 60 points or 70 points or something like that, then the APF is going to make more sense for you in this case. And then we can run those side by side in the cash flow analysis, and I can dig into them more detail with you to show you the different pros and cons, because every single person is going to be slightly different in this calculation as far as what the best choices are going to be for you. Now, going back to the APF plan and getting a little bit deeper into how that's structured. Again, this is more of your classic cash balance plan, in which case there's contributions made, and they're going to grow based upon interest rates. And the contributions are going to be, again, between 3% and 16%. What they do is they look at your accumulated annual percentages times your average final compensation, so your final average pay, times 12 to get your lump sum, and then from there they can look at the annuity option for you as well. And then if we look at the actual breakdown as far as what percentage you're going to get, again, it's based upon your point system, which is your age and your years of service. So whenever you first start out, you're going to be getting 3% contributions. But if you were, let's say, were hired at 30 years old, it could be 4%, because 30 years, even with 0 years of service, is going to put you in that 4%. Once you get higher and higher, and let's say somebody who's, let's say, 50 years old with 20 years of service, that would put them at 70 points. So you're getting 13% contributions each year into that APF plan. Once you hit the 80 points, you're getting actually 16%. So for somebody that maybe was on the 80-point formula and had already gotten to the 80 points, so they decided, hey, I've gotten to where I need to be on that, and I want to capture that annuity, but now I want to build up a lump sum, they can then transition over to the APF plan for all the future years and be getting that 16% contribution. So let's say somebody hits that and they've got 5 more years of work. That could be 5 years of 16% contributions to their APF plan. So they could pretty quickly grow a little bit of a lump sum to transfer with them as well. Now, as far as the 80-point plan, again, this is more of a defined benefit plan, classic plan, in which case it's a formula-based. And that formula is going to be your years of service times your final average pay times a multiplier, which is 1.6%. Then they claw back Social Security because Shell's been making half of your Social Security contributions over the years, because there's the employer portion and the employee portion. Once they go through this formula, it's going to determine what your actual annuity is going to be. Then from there, they can determine if you wanted to take a joint survivor annuity, what the payments would be from there as well. And then as far as the breakdown for that, there's also the benefit of the married or single, which gives you a little bit more of a kind of a unique benefit that we don't see in a lot of other plans we do work with. In which case, if you're single, it can actually give you get a free 50% survivor payment to somebody that may not be your spouse. So it's not necessarily just if you're married. You can also name a non-spouse beneficiary on these as well, which is fairly unique in the industry. Now, as far as when you decide to actually turn that income on and start taking payments and commence, you may or may not get 100% of your payments. So it's based upon age. If you've reached that 80 point, actually let's scroll into these or zoom in for you. If you reach the 80 points, then you're 60 years old, you're going to get 100%. If you decide to take it before age 60, there's a 5% reduction each year. So let's say somebody retires at 57 and has hit the 80 points, and they decide to turn that on right now, they'll only capture 85% of their pension. If they wanted to wait and just wait until 60, they'll get a 5% raise each year they wait if they were to defer it. Now on the other side, if you haven't hit your 80 points, it's a lot steeper reduction, in which case you have to be 65 before you get 100% of it. And if we go to that same person that was 57 with 80 points, getting 85%, if they were 57 with, let's say, 78 points, they'd only get 46.7%. So again, you're getting almost about half of what you would have otherwise gotten. So again, that's why it's very, very important to hit that 80 points under the 80-point formula. And again, once you do that, then you can look at transition over to the APF plan. But if you are, if you're in the 80-point plan and you're close to the 80 points, that does not make sense to move over to the APF plan. So be very careful about making those decisions, and give us a call if you have questions on it. Now, at the end of the day, you do need to run a cash flow analysis to really kind of dig into some of these details and make sure you've got everything lined up correctly on the pension choices. And then also, as far as when it comes time to retire, making sure you've got you've decided on the best choice for the retirement date so you can maximize those benefits. And then make sure that you have saved enough. We won't shy away from telling you that you need to work another couple years to meet the goals you have, or you may need to adjust those goals as well. But if you give us about 10 minutes of time, we can put that report together for you and take you away from being one of those stats of about 3/4 of Americans over 50 not having a written plan actually. Now, at the end of the day, obviously, we'd also love to work with you. We'd love to make you a client when you do retire. But if you are working with somebody else right now, it's great. We recommend that you do get a second opinion just in case. We even recommend our own clients do this periodically just to keep us on our toes. But ultimately speaking, if you're working with somebody, you need to make sure that they've got a deep understanding of the Shell plans so you don't make any mistakes through that transition. I can't tell you how many times we talked with individuals that said they had an advisor but still made mistakes because their advisors did not know the plans. Make sure you understand the fee structure you're paying. You're going to be paying fees, even if you stay in the plan or roll it to somewhere else. There's going to be fees, so you got to make sure you understand what you're paying for. At the retirement group, we are fiduciaries, and we are transparent on that. We're not a one-size-fits-all firm where everybody goes into the same cookie-cutter approach. So we'll be happy to kind of go through a proposal and let you know. But we do end up falling on the lower side of the industry average on the fee structure for the portions we do manage, and those fees cover everything. Then also you want to find out what is it that you're looking to achieve, and what's your biggest value. So you want to make sure you're working with somebody who has a good understanding of what you're trying to achieve, and you want to make sure you're working with a team. Myself and the other advisors here, we can't do everything on our own, so we rely on the retirement group's back office, the investment committee. We also rely on Schwab and their research team, which is who we clear through. And you do need to run that cash flow analysis. Don't let anybody give you a recommendation or tell you what to do until they've run a cash flow analysis and have a deeper understanding of what your situation is. And make sure they do so from a very conservative standpoint. You don't want to be too optimistic and make any mistakes on this retirement process, because it could be detrimental. Now, at the end of the day, if you have any questions, again, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-900-5867. We'll be more than happy to help you out and answer those questions or run that cash flow analysis if you need to. You can also reach us at info@theretirementgroup.com. And if you've got a cell phone, you want to scan the QR code, you got a couple of codes up here. One's for scheduling a meeting if you want to get into my calendar, one of the other advisors' calendars, or if you want to follow us on the LinkedIn page where we'll give you updates on the next webinars and any plan changes as well. So then I just want to remind everybody again, we've got that Q&A box there. If you'd like to put in a question real quickly, I'll be happy to address it right now. We've got looks like 1 or 2 in here I'll take care of, and if we don't have any more, we'll wrap it up. So the first question that I've got in here is how could different Shell pension options affect my retirement date? So we kind of went over through this, but it's going to be again kind of a case-by-case situation. So again, the 80-point formula we mentioned, you really want to make sure you get to the 80 points. So let's say in that example I gave you before, somebody was 57 and maybe they had 77 points. We would pound the table and suggest them, no matter how bad it is, try and stick it out for another maybe year and a half or 2 years so you hit that 80 points, and that way you max out your pension on that side. If somebody was under the 80 points and they knew they weren't staying, they weren't going to hit the 80 points, and they were under the APF plan, then it may not be as big of an issue as far as picking the time to retire for those pension plans. The other issue is obviously if you are looking at retiring and not going somewhere else and you want to start taking distributions from it, then if you take distributions before the age 59.5, then you're going to be looking at a potential 10% penalty on distributions unless it's coming from the 401k. But again, if you turn on the income, the annuity, you're not worrying about that. But if you were to take the APF and let's say maybe you had $200,000 lump sum in there and you rolled it over to an IRA and started taking distributions, there could be a penalty on top of that. So you just need to be aware of those. And just give me a call. We'll be happy to run through those. When we run that cash flow analysis, we'll uncover all this, and we'll also talk with you about different strategies to avoid that 10% penalty if that's something you are looking at doing. So again, there's a couple different ways to go about that, but age does matter, and it's best to run that cash flow analysis to really see your specific situation between the two of those. And then the last one that we see here is what should I take into consideration if I'm offered a severance? So as far as a severance, kind of all the stuff I just talked about, if you're offered something, you may be ready to go because maybe you get another year's worth of pay or something like that, and you're fed up. Well, but maybe you're not close to that 80 points, or maybe you're close to 80 points and you haven't hit it just yet. Where we can run that review. It may make more sense to, like I said, stay on another year or two, get the 80 points, which will be much better than that severance. So again, it really depends upon where you fall in your career as far as what those options are and what you think your choices are down the road. If you're close to retirement and you're ready to pull the trigger and you've already hit your 80 points, or you're in the APF plan and you're ready to go, then it may be a blessing where you get a little bit extra payment as you walk out the door. Or you may be younger and maybe you want to take that severance, and you can take that APF lump sum and roll that over to a new 401k at a new company, or roll over to an IRA. So again, it really depends upon your age and your readiness to actually retire or leave the company once you get that severance package. So just give me a call. Again, you can reach that 1-800-900-5867. We'll be happy to run these, because again, those last two questions are a little bit more personal, where we'd have to kind of look at everybody's situation differently to see exactly where they fall. But with that, I have no other questions on there. I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of their day to join us on this webinar. And you may get a follow-up email with the survey asking how we did. So if there's any points you have that we can enhance or would be better at, just let us know. We'll be happy to take those into consideration for the next one. And I hope everybody has a great day, and hope everybody stays safe.